Hey guys, how is it going? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another episode of the Film Life Vlog. For this episode of the vlog, I wanted to share with you a really interesting experience that I have been having with this Ricoh Mirai camera here. And I must say that this camera is probably the most underrated film camera that I have in my possession. And I have a lot of cameras, and after shooting with this camera and after developing the film, remember my previous episode where I shot with this particular camera in Calgary, and I actually developed the film from that experience, and I was actually marveling at the quality of the images that I got from that particular experience. And it just got me thinking how underrated this camera is. I mean, think of it. This camera, when it first came out, it was thought of as a camera with a futuristic design. It was actually designed to be a bridge camera. It was designed to be a cross between your SLRs, your automatic SLRs, and a point and shoot camera. So there was that convenience factor that was thought about when this camera was designed. Apparently this camera was designed in collaboration with Olympus, I believe Olympus, and they also produced a similar designed camera. So this particular one is from Ricoh, and every review, almost every review that I saw online when I first got this camera, almost every review was negative. You know, they talked about how odd this camera seemed. They talked about the form of it. It's awkward design. They talked about the fact that it's cumbersome, it's bulky, it's heavy, and if I had not known better, I would just latch on to those reviews and judge this camera unfairly. But I've always had the attitude that, I gotta shoot with these cameras and make up my own judgments for myself. And I decided to shoot with this camera, take it out. This was the sole camera I had on me for my trip to Calgary. And I just took it out and I shot some very interesting images. And like I said, my mind was really blown by the quality of the images that I got. The bottom line is this camera has such an intelligent system built in for determining the combination between shutter speed and aperture. And that control system in there is just incredible. I was taking note, like I said in my previous video, of the combinations that the camera was giving me, and it all seemed to be very reasonable. It all seemed to be combinations that I would use in that particular setting when I'm actually out with the manual camera and shooting with my light meter. And I must say I was so impressed by that. I actually enjoyed the form factor of this camera. Some people were complaining about it, and I actually don't understand why, because the point is, this camera is designed for one-hand use, okay? It's not as heavy as people claim that it is, okay? I have heavy cameras. I have a lot of heavy cameras, especially some cameras when you couple it with some of those telephoto lenses, the heavy ones. And I bet you this camera is to me, it's medium weight. It's not heavy at all. I've dealt with some really heavy cameras, and this camera is designed for one-hand use. That's one thing. It's one of the most misunderstood designs I find. It's not meant to be held like this. I don't think this camera was designed to be held like this, because then there's no grip, right? This is just a flash unit. There's no grip here, and even you see what just happened with this button when I just tapped. It's not designed to be held like this. It's designed to be held like this, one hand use, just like that, and you shoot with it just like this. And because the shutter button is right here, the shutter button, you depress on it slightly to focus, and you actually hold on it fully to shoot. So this camera, in my experience, worked best when I was just like this, and I love that, because I had this hand free to do other things, to hold onto a bag or to walk around. So I was just walking around with this camera in my hand like this, right? And whenever I saw something interesting, I would just pull this to my eye and shoot, focus and shoot. It was just as simple as that. And so when it comes to the design, I love the design. I loved the form factor of this camera. It looked like a camcorder. When it looks like a camcorder, it helps you in street photography. So you're not making people just feel like it's a camcorder. It's not an odd, nothing out of the ordinary like the old cameras that look so professional. It almost seems like you're taking a picture of them to go and sell it or use it for some other purpose, and people always feel a bit nervous about that, I find, from my experience at least. But with this camera, it just looked like I'm taking a video, and people just walk around like, oh, nothing out of the ordinary here. So I like that, and I wanted to showcase some of the images that I've shot with this camera, and I wanted to also do a quick review of this camera, just to let you guys know that this is one of the hidden gems. This, I must say, has become one of my favorite go-to camera for shooting my family on the road. And the reason is I don't have to worry about the light settings. I do not have to worry about bringing my light meter, because this camera just does it for me. It does all those combinations for me, and for that I really appreciate it. I am impressed with the lens that's on this camera. I love the form factor. I mean, don't let the reviews fool you. At least to me, I think that there will be others that are like me, that like to shoot with that one-handed operation. I mean, think about it. With my normal SLRs, there's usually no way I can shoot with one hand, because I have to hold the camera. I have to hold it this way, get my adjustments in place. Then I have to change the position of my hands and actually be able to focus and shoot as well, right? But none of that process with this camera. I love the LCD display in this camera. It's nice, bright, and colorful. It's a lit LCD display. It just works, right? It just works. And the film uptake system in this camera, loading film into this camera, is really a breeze. So overall, this camera is possibly one of the most underrated cameras that you can find, film cameras that you can find. It's a gem. I would recommend this camera for a casual beginner, even more than a point and shoot camera, because this is a bridge camera. You're actually getting that added benefit of the SLR quality, right? With because the lens is just built like that. You get a range of for this particular camera is from 35 millimeter to 135 millimeter. So you can get that wide angle look if you're shooting landscape or depending on your situation, and you can even zoom into 135 and be able to take some really awesome portraits. And that's what I've been doing with this camera. And you don't have to know about the settings of the camera. It will set that up for you intelligently. So I would totally recommend this camera for a beginner, even more so than a point and shoot camera, as I recommended before. And I love it. It's good for families. It's good for people that have kids. If you're shooting your family, this is an ideal camera for you, because oftentimes you don't want to be fidgeting with settings. Yeah, you just want to concentrate on your family. You just want to point, shoot, and forget about it, right? And that's what this camera gives you. So to be honest with you, I'm trying to think of something bad to say about this camera. It's really hard to find something bad to say about this camera. The only thing that I can think of is if you buy this camera to shoot manual, you're doing the wrong thing, right? This camera is not designed for its manual prowess. I would just say find another camera if you want to shoot manual. This camera is not for you. There's a way to shoot manual on this camera, but it's cumbersome. It's not something you want to spend your time shooting manual on this camera. That's not what it's designed for. So I would totally recommend, if you want to shoot a manual, just buy a manual film camera. And that's one of the beautiful things about film photography, is there's just so many options for you, depending on how or your intents, what you intend to shoot, your purpose, your vision. You can get different cameras, all kinds of different cameras. But if you just want a camera or if you want a camera to start off with in film photography and still get really quality images, this camera is for you. So I think I've done enough talking. I'm just gonna showcase some of the images that I took with this beautiful camera right here. Hey, so welcome back. I hope that you guys found those pictures really nice to look at. I totally enjoyed shooting with the Ricoh Mirai camera. I totally enjoyed shooting with it. It was a camera that really surprised me. And I must say that since then, I have been going out with it to shoot my family. And it's just a convenient camera to have with me. So until the next time, I just want to wish you guys a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe.